Everybody able to see and hear me okay? Go ahead and respond in the chat section here. We're going to go ahead and get started. Want to make sure that everybody can hear and see me all right before we get going. So go ahead and just respond in the chat and let me know. Give me a thumbs up or you can hear me. All right, thanks, Anton. My name is Michael Strasberg, and I am the Prospective Student Coordinator for Biola University's MA in Christian Apologetics and MA in Science and Religion. And I appreciate you joining us today. A number of you from overseas who've shown some commitment. I was seeing a few people and interacting all the way over in the Philippines and looking up time zones, and 2 a.m. Thursday morning. So appreciate you joining us here. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. And feel free to use the chat feature there to engage in the discussion, ask questions throughout the whole time. Please, this is for you, so we want this to be valuable. We'll go through the slides, and we'll also have a dedicated time for Q&A at the end as well, okay? All right, so we're going to go through a few of the reasons why Biola's program is ranked one of the top programs out there in apologetics. We're one of the oldest standing programs. We have an excellent, fully accredited 39-unit curriculum. Recently, we officially joined Talbot Seminary here at Biola, and are excited to join them, as they have such a strong network of professors and degrees, and it's a real natural fit. We're then going to be able to add in some additional seminary accreditation to our already regional accreditation through Biola. So that'll be exciting, and we're looking forward to that opening up additional doors in the years to come. As you know, we have a distance format that is very flexible and allows people to participate in our program from anywhere in the world. We have top-ranked scholars who've been with us for a number of years, who are very active in apologetics, and you know, we're putting that training into practice with our graduates and alumni who are doing a number of incredible things that we'll share a little bit about later. Just so you know, at the bottom there, we got a little date information. January 8th is the start of our spring semester upcoming. We're still accepting applications for that. And then the fall will begin in August. And you can apply ahead for that as well if that's when you're interested in starting. You can see a picture of our director, Craig Hazen. He began the MA in Christian Apologetics 20 years ago. When there weren't really that many apologetics programs out there, and was one of the real pioneers in this field. So he got things started. I want to take an opportunity to introduce to you someone else on our team here at Biola who's going to walk through kind of the application process. I work closely with Elizabeth Ree, who is our admissions counselor in graduate admissions. And she is in charge of the whole application process and assisting our students to walk through that application, answer any questions, and then do kind of a formal review of your application and kind of help hold your hand through that process into becoming a student.
Hi all, it's so good to meet you from a distance, and I hope to connect with you further. I'll be the one who's calling, maybe emailing you about your application. So I'll just go over some of the requirements, what we have going on, what you'll need to do your application to come into the MA in Apologetics or MA in Science and Religion program. So first, you'll want a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. We do also require that you are in agreement with our doctrinal statement here at the university, and that is on our website, and you'll be able to see that throughout the application as well. We do want a GPA of at least a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. The GRE, thankfully, is not required for this. That's just those preliminary parts to know before applying. And then there's different, for the Science and Religion program, you'll want kind of a background in science. So chemistry, biology, psychology, or even a very, just different things that would prepare you for that program. It's not required, but it will help you out a lot. We don't want you to be unprepared for the program, so that's why we ask for things like that. You'll also, so here's for some of the instructions. Yes, so we have our link there, and the application fee is $65. For everything, we need a pastor recommendation and a character recommendation. It could be character, academic, and for your pastor, it could also be a church leader if you don't know your pastor very well. That comes up pretty often, but we do require that you are currently attending and investing in a church. We will need all official transcripts from all schools that you've been to, after high school, of course. So even if it's been one class at community college, we will still need that. And for it to be official, it needs to be sent directly from the institution to Biola. And if you're going into the Science and Religion program, there's also an information profile and writing sample. It's just a 1 to 2 page essay about, your background in science, things that you've read recently, just so that we can have assurance that you're prepared to enter the Science and Religion program.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And
Elizabeth
will be on the chat as well. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out there. Or as you go through the application process, you'll be able to work with her directly. So we're going to go ahead and pop into some of the financial aid information, as I got a bunch of questions about that beforehand when people were RSVPing. We do have information about this on our website as well. The tuition is $592 a unit. It's a 39-unit program. Comes out to about $23,000 for the full program. We do have a new student scholarship that each student is eligible to apply for. It's a $1,200 scholarship. Biola does offer payment plans, which is really helpful. A lot of students take advantage of that to split up the payments into 1, 2, 3, or 4 payments throughout the semester. That way you can kind of pay as you go. And the FAFSA is available to all U.S. citizens. That's federal aid through loans. Probably about 25% of our students will take advantage of that. And you don't have to do that for the full amount of the program. You do have to have 5 units or more to qualify for financial aid and the student scholarship. Let me know if you have any questions, any other questions about financial aid. One thing to keep in mind is, our program full-time is 9 units at the grad level, but you can take anywhere from 1 to 9 units. And a lot of our new students start off and are adjusting back to going back to school. And so you can take any number of those units, and that obviously helps not only with the financial aid picture and spreading out the program from, instead of 2 years, maybe 3, 4, or 5 years, but it also makes it a little more doable if you're balancing and juggling work, life, family, ministry, which a lot of our students are. We have a varied and flexible program because we have a wide variety and demographic within our student body. Yep. So Biola University has been around since 1908 and has been dedicated to training and equipping Christians both in ministry and in lay ministry. And our program has a balance of those, and we don't solely equip people to be an official pastor, although we do have pastors and missionaries in our program. That's not the entirety of the program. We have people who are, lawyers and doctors and school teachers and you name it, we have it. So there's a wide variety, which really represents the church body. All right, next slide, Adam. You can see Dr. Sean McDowell. He's still he keeps saying, when am I not going to be the new faculty guy? And I told him when we hire another new faculty member, but he joined us about 2 to 3 years ago, and we've been blessed to have him. He's added a lot to our program, including brand new classes, and really focusing in on our youth and culture today, and a lot of those hot topic issues that have brought apologetics to a much younger generation, when typically it had an older demographic who was interested in kind of the philosophical issues of apologetics. So we're thankful to have him here with us. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a few slides that outline the distance format, and I spent a lot of time on this because this is essential to how the program is structured, and I want to make sure that everybody really understands that. So feel free to let me know if you have questions. I did real quick want to mention Paul had a question about the certificate program and wanted to know how that worked. We do have an online certificate program, and that's open and available to everyone. So if I'm going through this presentation and you're like, oh, maybe we hit one of the requirements of financial aid or something like that, and it's just not feasible for you, we do have an excellent online certificate program that everybody's eligible for, and it provides a nice survey of apologetics. You can start at any point. It's really affordable. It's a great training on its own, but can also be a stepping stone if you're not ready to do the MA right now, but you might in the future. You can start with that, and you can actually earn up to 6 units of potential credit towards the MA in Christian Apologetics, or 2 units towards the MA in Science and Religion. And you can find more information. We'll have Adam pop a link in the chat, and you can find more information on our website about that. All right. JB has a question about units, and I'm going to get to that in just a second, okay? Up here we have a slide showing our 39-unit program and how it's broken down for our distance format, okay? 20 of the units are in a hybrid setting so that students have flexibility with those classes to complete those online, but they do have the benefit of having some in-person lecture in the summer that has condensed lecture where they're getting to interact directly with faculty and fellow students. And then the remaining 19 units are fully online and obviously offer, you know, additional flexibility. So there's a nice fit there of flexibility and academic rigor. All right. The format with these hybrid classes, it begins in the spring. You can see the chart here. You can go to the next slide, and it goes summer and fall. So all of those 20 units begin in the spring semester, and that's really the time where you are investing in your reading. Biola uses an online educational learning platform called Canvas, and you're able to access your syllabi, interact with all your fellow students and your professors. That's like your private discussion board and community where you can submit assignments and engage in the material so that you're not completely isolated. You're doing a lot of reading and discussion in that first semester where you have 7 weeks online. There is a week kind of vacation or break from school in between session A and session B where students get a little bit of a break. That's really preparing you in the spring for the summer residency time. That's here in Southern California at Biola. We have housing and meals available, you know, for students. And I cannot understate the value of this time. Students absolutely love it. It is a challenge for some students, but every single student who's made it out here has loved it and came back wanting more, has graduated saying, the thing I'm going to miss is summer residency. Each class has about 3 days of lecture. So you can see, for example, course A, you would have 3 days of lecture Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Course B would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So what this means is that while a full summer residency is 2 weeks long, if you were going through the program at a quick pace, maybe trying to finish in 2 years, you might come out just for a few days or a week if you're spreading out the program. So that's something that I can talk individually about based upon everybody's situations. We also have an academic advisor who helps sort through those course discussions to make it valuable for you. Lastly, we finish in the fall semester where you go back online and have any final discussion and then do a research paper or exam depending on your class. So those are the 3 parts for those classes. So when we say a hybrid class, that's what I'm talking about. here we have some great pictures of our students just from this past summer residency here in June. We got asked a few of them if we could do a photo op and get to know them and kind of talk to them. And so we had them share their experience. I'm going to have Adam go ahead and play a video. There's a short clip that really just shows, has them share their experience in summer residency and kind of what that meant to them. You know, each student has a different experience, and we wanted them to just share the value in that, because although it is a challenge, it is something that every student's able to build valuable relationships with fellow students and their professors. We have meals together, different events and activities that are sponsored, and a lot going on during that time. I'm going to keep talking here while Adam's getting it up and running. But one of the things that's great is we do have students that are from all over the world who are here. Looks like it's just about coming up.
I really enjoy the summer residency aspect to the course, because it allows us to come on campus and begin to interact with the professors, which has been a profound growth opportunity for me.
I really enjoy my experience here, because I get to be around other people who are like-minded, who have similar stories, similar challenges with school and being at home, and also even being around professors who are very transparent. They're able to even talk to you even outside of class, and that's one thing that I really appreciate.
It's been great to come over here and meet people face to face and make that connection. There's a lot of blanks that are being filled in.
Many of us are living in our own areas of the country, but then we come together, you know, those different aspects bring like a melting pot together where you can really sharpen your thinking based upon what somebody else sees from their perspective.
It may be intimidating, or you feel like, oh, I don't know anything, and yet you get to meet them and you realize, wow, they're just like me, struggling with life issues, questions, family, friends, ministry, and it really adds a personal touch.
When you walk into the lecture room, you see students from all the way in their early 20s to maybe in their late 60s. No one could ever figure out that we're in this classroom because of Jesus.
It's one thing to discuss things with people online. It's another thing to meet them face to face, get to know them.
It's such a refreshing time, spiritually speaking, because you're now joining a community of believers who share the same, you know, convictions about how we should reach other people who don't know God.
Diversity has been amazing. I'm learning so much from my classmates, and even more from my professors.
They're really open. They're really there. They're really there to be, to just really want to connect with you, see where you're at in your life.
It's also that sense of community, that sense of fellowship that you don't get anywhere else, and it makes it such a nice time.
I really enjoyed the summer residency on campus.
Apparently it helps if I unmute myself after the video. All right, sorry about that. I was just talking to myself. That's embarrassing. Sorry about the video there. What I was just saying is we're going to go ahead and email out the recording of this, and we'll go ahead and put a link directly to the video on YouTube so that you guys can access that afterwards, because it is a great video that shares about kind of the student experience. All right, so let's go ahead and pop into our next slide here. And keep letting me know if you have any questions. Here you can see a sample schedule. This is not the way you have to do the program. This is just, you know, a layout for the distance program here. You can see at the top you have 19 units that are fully online, as I mentioned, and you can see how those are split up into our core classes and then elective classes of your choosing. Those can be taken any semester, so those can be started in the spring. You can also take those in the fall. And then below you can see the various classes that are offered in that hybrid residency format and see how they're broken up into spring, summer, and fall. The same thing applies to the science and religion program. There are more core and required classes in that program, but it has the same format. One thing to remember in terms of electives is there is ability to cross over a little bit between the MACA and the MASR. If there's a class, like for instance, you're taking MA in Science Religion, but you really want to have the class Why God Allows Evil because it's critical, you can go ahead and do that. Or vice versa, MA in Christian Apologetics, and you wanted to take historical perspectives in science and religion to kind of add another area of expertise into your studies, you can go ahead and do that as well. Here we'll see that our layout of the classes. Online we also have a breakdown that has a short course description for each of these. And that's a valuable tool as well if you're wondering kind of what are we getting into in these classes. Each of the programs is going to have a biblical studies or theology core to them. This is really great, especially when you get into classes like Scripture, Authority, Canon, Criticism, Hermeneutics, Christian Doctrine 1 and 2, where you're getting into doctrine and being able to really look at how that applies and lays a foundation for apologetics. And that's why coming into this program, you can have any bachelor's degree that's accredited because we're laying that foundation for you. And it starts with Scripture, and then we can build upon that and look at specific topics, always looking back to Scripture, but then looking at other areas of academia as well, whether that's philosophy, history, science, critical thinking, things like that. So one of the questions that popped up was, is it best to start in the spring or does the fall work well too? Both semesters are great for starting, and it really depends on the student. Either way can work very well. The benefit of starting in the spring is that you have access to all of those classes. So you get to hop right into those hybrid classes. You get to come on campus sooner and kind of jump in with 2 feet, so to speak. If you're looking to finish the program in 2 years, it's beneficial to start in the spring so that you can make that happen, 9 units, or a semester. In the fall, it's nice to be able to kind of have a trial semester and be able to take, a class or two and experience the program, get a feel for it, and then come the spring, you really know what your workload is, what you can handle, and then you can competently kind of select that level of classes and commit to that for that next year. So pros and cons there. If you have any questions or concerns about that, feel free to contact me and we can walk through that with your situation. And then Talbot isn't going to change things immediately for the MA in Christian Apologetics or the MA in Science and Religion. Biola has 8 graduate schools right now, and we've been shifted out of the School of Arts and Sciences and underneath Talbot Seminary, which is a more natural fit for us, and we're excited about that. It will mean that, and we've applied for an ATS seminary type accreditation, which will just add to our already strong regional accreditation through WASC. And in the future, we're expecting that to allow us additional opportunities to provide more classes or access to different professors. And we're working towards being able to try and offer, an online-only type option here in the future. So here we see the same layout for the MA in Science and Religion with the core classes. One of the questions we got ahead of time was asking about the Science and Religion and the classes, the perspective. The Science and Religion program does a great job of looking at 3 main areas of study: theology, science, and philosophy. Your background in science is helpful because you're able to then really focus on the implications and understand everything that's being thrown at you. But it's really the merging of these 3 areas where you're able to see where each applies, where they overlap, and understand the limits of theology, the limits of philosophy, the limits of science, so that we're not overreaching and we can call out. And when we're discussing and talking with people about these critical issues, hey, science really, stops here, and you're talking more as a philosopher or a theologian, and let's look at the evidence from philosophy or theology if we're going to go in that direction. So it provides a stronger philosophical core with those 2 required philosophy classes. And then there's a number of elective classes that you can see there, and on our website there's 9 units of elective credit for the Science and Religion program. All right, so we have some participant questions that were submitted ahead of time. So I'm going to go through and answer a couple of those, and then feel free to continue to put in questions on the chat, and I'll get to those as well. So as I was mentioning, right now we do have a residency requirement for our students, and that is a requirement. We are hoping to and working towards developing, a fully online option. That's still in progress though, and we'll obviously be able to update you more when we have some more concrete information on that. But right now, 19 of those units are fully online, so especially if you're looking to be a part-time student, that's something that you can really start off with, just those online classes, even if you can't commit to come out this summer or next summer to Biola's campus. So that isn't, available right now. Specifically for the certificate program, so I mentioned a little bit about that. Basically, you're going to go ahead and walk through the certificate program and complete the coursework. To earn the certificate, you do the quiz for each of the 3 courses. There is additional reading and writing if you'd like to take your studies further. That's not required to earn the certificate, but for, to kind of deepen your studies. And so you can get 3 units for doing the quizzes, and you can get an additional 3 for doing the reading and writing. We keep your grades on file. Then once you've applied, been accepted into the MA program, you can then register for those classes, sign up, pay the tuition for those, and then we already have your grade on file. And then at the end of the semester, those are then now officially accredited and a part of your transcript, counting as elective units towards your degree. And your academic advisor would walk you through that process. Christian Thought 1 and 2 are going through systematic theology. Kevin Lewis is our professor for those 2 classes. He was an example of a professor who taught at Talbot for 10 years and has been teaching us for us for the last 12 and is absolutely excellent at what he does. Opportunities to connect with faculty online and in person, that's a great question because you do have both. Canvas allows you, that's our online learning platform, to engage with faculty on a regular basis, chatting back and forth. It's also something that you can do that within your work week or at a time that works well for you. You don't have to log in Wednesday at 6 p.m. or do this info session that's set at 11 a.m. at the exact amount of time. There isn't a set period that you have to log in. So you might have a time allotment for your class Sunday night, and that's okay. You can then go ahead and do your reading and discussion at any point throughout that week that works for you. So you can schedule in your time for reading and writing, and it's convenient in that regard. Our professors are available if you need to set up an actual phone conversation with them or Skype. And then additionally, in that summertime, our professors are there kind of 24/7 as you guys are doing lecture. They're lecturing to you, have active discussion, and then they're available for meals and special activities. We have a banquet, a faculty panel lunch, and different things like that that are readily available to really connect and engage with the faculty. Students working full-time, yeah, a lot of our students, in terms of our demographics, a number of our students are working full-time. The vast majority are doing that and balancing studies. And so you can adjust your workload for school based upon that, and semester to semester, make those adjustments for you. And that schedule can be fairly flexible because of what I mentioned with that weekly schedule. And that's something that we can work through again each semester based upon your needs and busy seasons for work and things like that. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. So I jumped to the certificate program one. Can I study 75% or more of the degree externally online in Australia? In terms of the coursework that you're doing, probably 90% of your time is online. So you would have 2 weeks on campus in the summer at Biola, and you do that twice. And most of our international students do that, so they're maximizing their flight out here, whereas other students, you know, you might want to spread that out, and that might be more convenient for you. It depends on the student and what's best for you. Key differences between apologetics, science, and religion. So should get a little bit of a feel for that from the classes that were up there, but mainly apologetics is going to be a broader degree that allows you to really focus in on a number of topics and fields. You have 16 units of electives, so you have a lot of freedom to kind of create your own emphasis and area of study, whereas science and religion is focusing your apologetics learning and education on science and its implications on Christian worldview and thought. And so you're looking at creation, evolution, design, cosmology, all of these issues, and how science really holds kind of a place of authority in our world today, and what are the limits of science and naturalism and things like that. So as Elizabeth mentioned, most of our students have a strong science background, whether that's education or career, or some are just very well read and really understand and are excited about those specific topics. Specific careers, I'm going to answer this for both programs because it's a good question. I will say for the science religion program, we typically have more established careers for our students who have a good field and a good job within the sciences, although you can, you know, continue to branch on after your degree. Some people are using that, you know, to teach science or to go on to do further education. A lot of the same things that I'm going to mention with Christian Apologetics apply to science and religion. We have students who are writing books, who are speaking, who are teaching, broadcasting, doing a lot of different ministry with youth. We have some that are writing, you know, children's books. We have some that are, you know, doing podcasts, a variety of different applications for making apologetics practical. And we're seeing that really grow within the church, so a lot of, you know, official positions are opening up there as well. Deadlines to apply. For international students, it is typically a month earlier that we want to have those applications. So for the fall semester, we usually ask for applications July 1st. For international, that would be June 1st, just to allow time for additional requirements like an affidavit of support and if an English proficiency exam is required. We have a great website link on for our international students that walks through that and connects you with Joshua Esau, who is our international graduate admissions counselor, who's very helpful and can answer some of those more technical questions. If you're already in the program and the opportunity for online fully arises, what does that mean for someone who has already started the program? Great question. So just as currently we offer, you know, one MA degree in Christian Apologetics, you know, there would be an ability most likely to continue and work towards your degree, but to do that in a different format. You know, right now we have on campus and we have our hybrid model. Well, some people live closely or they might move and they do a combination of those different classes. That would likely, you know, be the situation for that when it comes forth. The certificate program is more of an independent study format, and there isn't direct interaction with the professors. So keep that in mind. While it's great content, that's what you're really paying for and receiving with the MA program is that individual interaction, that mentorship and guidance. So I think I got through most of those questions that were submitted ahead of time. Were there any other questions on the chat that people had that they would like me to go ahead and answer? The certificate program is not accredited on its own. If you did the MA program and you brought that in and you received credit for that, then you would have accredited units to apply towards your degree, but it's not an officially accredited certificate beforehand. And part of that is because of the way it's structured, and that it is more of an independent study format, where you're not paying tuition for that, you're really just paying a nominal course fee. You can do the whole thing, all 3 courses, for $350, so it's very affordable and flexible. Is the MAC or MASR a preparatory degree for moving toward further education? Oh, thank you. Great question. I needed to get to that. Yes, it is. It's a fully accredited Master of Arts degree, and we've had a number of our alumni go on to seek further education. We did an alumni survey about 1.5 years ago, and we're really surprised, happily, with the great feedback from our alumni and the different degrees that they've went on to pursue, both going on to the PhD level and pursuing things like apologetics or philosophy, history, philosophy of history and science, looking more into systematic theology. Some people have went more the professional ministry route and done an MDiv and RD-Min. There's a lot of different ways that you can go on. If you're interested in that, the main important thing is that our degree does allow you to continue on. But you do want to look into those specific fields, and each institution is going to have their very own specific criteria. So sometimes they might say, yes, that works, and that's a fully accredited degree to move on to further graduate studies, but we do want you to take 9 units in philosophy, or something like that. We might ask you to take, we've had a few students go on to a prestigious university, and they wanted them to take additional units, so they actually did both of our programs, the MA in Christian Apologetics and the MA in Science and Religion. You can't do the 2 at the same time. We've had people ask about that, but basically, you can kind of do this. You can pursue both of them one right after the other. So you can pursue one, the 39 units, 15 units of transfer credit goes over to the next one, and then you have 24 units left to complete that second apologetics degree. And now you're getting kind of the best of both of those degrees without the overlapping, biblical and theological training that you've already received. That's also a great route if you don't have the science background, to go directly into the MASR. The apologetics degree is going to give you enough of that foundation that you're going to be able to take that next step and go directly into the MASR. Just as I mentioned, the 15 units of transfer credit, that's something that applies to coming into our program for the first time. So if you've done any graduate study work, maybe at a seminary or a Christian university, if it's graduate level, oftentimes you can transfer in up to 15 units towards the degree. A lot of the courses that were outlined there under biblical studies, those are common classes, whether you're pursuing an MDiv, an MA in theology, or just taking a few courses for your own kind of Christian benefit. That can obviously help with the time commitment to the degree, and it can bring the tuition price down from $23,000 all the way down to $14,000 if you brought in all those units. I do often get the question about undergrad units, as a number of people out there might have attended a Christian university. While you're not able to transfer those in directly because it's an undergrad course compared to a grad level course, if you've done 2 classes that are on the same field or subject, then it's possible to maybe have a class waived. So if you've done New Testament studies and Pauline literature or something like that, you might the registrar might waive the New Testament class, in which case you would then replace that with an elective. So that's kind of the difference between transferring in units and having a class waived. Can you explain the different tracks further for someone who may need to take a slower route? Yes. So, Adam, do you think you could pull up that slide for MACA that shows the sample layout? So basically, that's going to, that shows you our, let's do MACA. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So we have 19 units up top and then 20 units down below. Full-time is 9 units, and so that would involve you, taking 1 or 2 classes up top, and then see how they're kind of broken down into 2 sections, with required and elective down below. You would take 10 units of residency in a year. So you would sign up for 5 units, taking 5 of those classes in the spring, and then you get another 5 units in the fall. And so while it seems like a number of courses, you're only focusing on, a couple of those courses at a time and just for 7 weeks at a time. You're not fitting the whole course in, you're just doing your reading and discussion and kind of preparing you for summer residency, which is one of the benefits, because you're not showing up for the first day of class like usual, not knowing anything about the subject. You've read on it, you've discussed it, and you're really ready to have active, engaging discussion, which is already at a higher level, being in a graduate program. So it's really beneficial for that. So if you're doing the smaller route, you might be looking at 3 to 4 years and looking at, maybe anywhere from 1 to 6 or 7 units. We usually recommend taking the 1-unit apologetics and research and writing class. That's a 6 or 7 week class online that goes through the proper formatting. You do a proposal, draft, and write rough draft and final paper for your first kind of research paper for that class. And that's kind of a foundational class that you can kind of build off of. But there are not many prerequisites really within the program, so you can go through this as it works for your schedule, the time that you have, and particular topics you might be interested in. Some students want to go through and do a lot of the theology, and they feel that's necessary to give them a foundation first before jumping into other classes. Other students may be looking for online classes first or hybrid classes to get engagement, and so we're really able to tailor it towards you. But feel free to reach out to me if you have a specific need in how you want to pace the program. Once you're accepted, you are assigned to one of our 2 excellent academic advisors. And Megan Strickland is online with us right now. She's been engaging in the chat. She's one of the people who really walks you through selecting your classes, talking to you about the format, and then helping you make it all the way through and receive your degree, which is what we really want for you. So hopefully that answers your question on that. In terms of student diversity and our program, one thing that I wanted to share is that we have really seen an expanse in kind of the diversity of our students, especially over the last few years. As culture has really forced apologetics to the forefront within the Christian community, there's this growing need to people who might not have been interested in apologetics before. Before it might have been more of an academic, philosophical pursuit for a certain type of person. And now we're seeing growth into, the percentage of women in our program has went up drastically over the last 5 to 8 years. We're having younger people in the program. We have people who, some are coming straight out of undergrad. We have people, all the way through their 60s, which gives a lot of diversity and a helpful experience, because the youth are able to talk about these practical issues that they grew up through that are active in our culture today. And then you have mentorship, within the student body from older students who have more training and experience, within the church. So we found that really valuable, especially during the summer residency time, as people connect and talk about how they can practically do apologetics as well. All right, we got another question. Topic of scholarship, Jamaica. Yeah, so I went through the financial aid in the beginning of the presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of graduate financial aid available. Internationally, you still have access to the payment plans and our new student scholarship. A lot of times, internationally, students will go ahead and start off with, our certificate program, which I said can be done for $350. And that's a very accessible, practical route to take if the MA isn't, a possibility, at this point. Yeah. All right, so I have one or two things that I wanted to go ahead and raffle off that I've been busy chatting away. So I'm going to go ahead and do a question here. So everybody get ready on their chat. And being that we are right on the southern border of Los Angeles here in La Mirada, where Biola is, I am going to ask the first person to give me the score of the Dodgers game last night against the Cubs is winning an apologetics resource. So first one to give us the score of the Dodgers-Cubs game. Adam, you can't do it. Adam's a diehard Dodgers fan, and so we'll see if anybody over here was tracking baseball, or still. And there we go. Do we have someone who's popped it up?
Yeah, he did to me, Robert.
Okay. All right, Robert. Congratulations. We'll go ahead and get out. We have Paul Copans has got a moral monster, and that's going to you, Paul. You can go ahead and private message through the chat, Adam or another person of our team, and make sure we have your valid address, and we'll get that out to you. I'll go ahead and do one more giveaway. We got Can We Still Believe the Bible by Blomberg here. And for that one, I'm going to go to Biola's roots, and if anybody can tell me the year that Biola University was founded. Wow, Paul, quick on that. He had that locked and loaded. All right, so Paul, go ahead and send us your address. We'll get this out to you. Do we have any other questions that people had about our program that I can help answer for you in the last few minutes here? In terms of computer, both Mac and PC are fully compatible. Really all you need is an internet connection, and you'll log into that's our Canvas, Biola Canvas site. So you'll have a login, and within that site, everything will be there from your syllabi to the discussion board. Your assignments can be submitted there. Tech-wise, it's very simple. We've had some people ask, can I use an iPad? Yes, wouldn't go as far as using your phone, but who knows? Phones are getting bigger and more high-tech by the day. So it's pretty simple in that regard, and that you can, really do the online portion from anywhere, and then, come to Biola for those, condensed lectures in the summer. Are you listening to lectures or simply reading for online classes? Great question. So for the 19 units that are fully online, it is a little bit of a mix and match depending on the course. Some courses do utilize, a unique software, and other classes will go ahead and integrate and use Canvas just the way the hybrid classes do, so that you are, along with your reading and writing, doing active discussion and dialogue. As we start to merge more fully with Talbot, we're going to be utilizing, some new technology and trying to make those even more engaging for the fully online classes. Some of those will have recorded lectures that you can listen to, so it still has the freedom of being able to do that when it's convenient for you, to work on those classes. And then obviously for the online classes, you're going to have, in-person time in the summer with those professors to speak and dialogue with them. Which courses in the science and religion program are independent study? Those classes are more of the elective classes that, you know, if a class isn't being offered, you know, that semester, you can sign up as an independent study class. So there's not an active listing for the spring. You can go ahead and take that class, setting that up with your academic advisor, and do that in more of an independent study fashion on your own if you really wanted to get into that content of that class, but it wasn't offered that term. Additionally, something like a thesis, you know, would maybe fall more into that category where you're not in a traditional online class, but you're engaging in coursework in a more independent, you know, format. Yeah. All right, let's see. Mark Donnelly says, oh, where'd he go? Can we connect? I'm sorting the PhD thing, so it's good if we can exchange our research. That's to another person. Go for it. Sorry, I thought that was for me there. How do weekend seminars work with the program? So that's something that I should definitely mention. So we have weekend seminars that are offering Friday and Saturday. We usually offer about 3 of these a semester and 1 or 2 in the summer. And these are great opportunities to provide flexibility to get some of that residency credit, but to break it up into smaller pieces. So, for instance, you have that 20 units of residency credit and 10 of that is elective credit. Those electives can be done as a weekend seminar where, you know, let's say, for example, a spring semester, you do, you know, it would be a hybrid class where you have reading, discussion, coursework, but you have lecture in person, you know, Friday and Saturday. A lot of those are at Biola, and then we do have a couple more that are, you know, that vary at different locations around the country. And those are a great way to fit in, especially if you have a busy work schedule. You can fit in and get kind of bite-sized chunks of those classes. A lot of special elective, you know, topics there as well. So those are great to take advantage of if you can. Time to allow for a certificate program with work for transferable credits. I'm guessing that's asking if there's a time limit on applying those credits. If I'm correct, there isn't. You know, we keep your grades on file, so as long as you've done that certificate program through us, we have those grades, and we can, you know, look those up when you do, you know, apply and are accepted into the program. You don't have to worry about, you know, those expiring. Yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions that I can go ahead and answer for you before we leave? And then I'm going to do one more final raffle for this wonderful set by William Lane Craig. We have a set of 12 different debate DVDs that has excellent coverage of the debate, before and after interviews, and has a variety of different, you know, people and topics that William Lane Craig debates on. This is an excellent resource to anybody interested in apologetics, and I can't mention enough about that. So now that you really want that and only one of you gets it, we are going to ask a very good question, and you guys get ready on your chat, okay? What was the, let's say this, how many years ago was the MA in Science and Religion program created? Megan Kemp, 20, that's correct for the MA in Christian Apologetics program. The MA Science and Religion is not as old. So we'll give people a couple more seconds, and we're going to see who got the closest. We got 4, 5, 8, 14, 10. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call it, and Mark Donnelly is the closest there. We're at about 13 or 14 years for the MA in Science and Religion program. that John Bloom, Dr. Bloom, helped create with Craig Hazen. At that point, we just had the Christian Apologetics program, and John Bloom is the academic director of that. He's also in charge of the undergrad psychology program here at Biola, and brilliant. Has a doctor in ancient Near East studies as well as in physics, so he's excellent for that program. All right, so Mark, go ahead and get us your address. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up if there's any final questions. Oh, we do have one question here on elaborating on the science requirements. So essentially what we're looking for is to see if somebody is prepared for and able to digest and succeed in this more technical scientific degree. You don't have to be an expert in a specific field because you're going to be talking in all areas, you know, of science and what those implications are for a Christian worldview. The easiest of those, meeting those requirements, is if you had, you know, any type of a degree in the sciences, undergrad and up, or if you're actively or did work in a field or industry. We've had some people who are like, oh, I don't consider myself a scientist, but I'm a mathematician or a statistician or something like that. There's a lot of crossover and a lot of things that can work there. We've had geologists, cosmologists, we've had, you know, pilots, a wide kind of range of people there. We do have some people who are kind of self-studied and have been into this topic for years and are very well read on that, and so they're much more aware of the issues, terminology, and can be, you know, better prepared for that degree, because it is a little bit more academically rigorous, and we want to make sure that you're able to succeed in that. So if you have questions or concerns about that's a fit for you, let me know. One important thing to really think about, and I'll kind of wrap up with this, is, you know, what do you want to do with this degree? And if you're deciding between those two and you know, which one you want to apply for, you know, what's the audience? What's the output of this degree? So if you're going to primarily be working within the scientific community, then, you know, the science and religion program is going to be essential. You know, the Christian Apologetics is going to be easier to integrate within, you know, the local church and ministry. You're also going to be able to focus in on a particular area, world religions, philosophy, you know, culture, youth, something like that. But at the same time, you know, the science and religion program really is kind of one of a kind in having a Christian, you know, master's of arts degree in science and religion. There are not many people trained in this, and the church needs that. A lot of people need that. The scientific community needs that. So, you know, really think about how you want to use this degree and pray about that. Talk to us about it and see how you can best utilize this degree. And we've had a lot of alumni successfully do that after graduating, that you can lean on and look to see what they've done before. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Catherine, sorry I don't have too much time to get into the theological spectrum. I'll send out a link to kind of our doctrinal statement, but, you know, in short, Biola is a conservative university and has remained very true to kind of our doctrinal statement for over 100 years now, and so believe in inerrancy in Scripture, and we don't, you know, officially take a stance. One person asked me about, you know, young earth, old earth. That's not something that doctrinally we make a decision on. We have students on both ends of that spectrum, and the science and religion program does evaluate evidence from a variety of points of view so that you're able to give evidence for and against, you know, different viewpoints, knowing that there are different viewpoints even within the Christian community. If you have any other questions, please shoot them to me. Email me, michael.strasberg@biola.edu. Give me a call. Please let the conversation continue. As I mentioned, we are accepting applications. I'm going to type in a code here, APOL25, and you can use that to save $40 on your application fee. If you go to biola.edu/apply, you can go ahead and apply for the upcoming spring or fall semester here in 2018. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay in touch. God bless.